You think time is a river flowing forever forward? Wrong. The greatest equations in physics don't have a clue what direction is. Look at that cup of coffee and milk swirling on your table. In the world of atoms, milk and coffee unmixing is just as normal as them blending together. The universe doesn't have a clock. The past isn't lost, and the future? It's already there. In fact, every electron in your body might just be one single particle running back and forth, zigzagging from the end to the beginning of reality. You feel time passing. That's just a biological illusion woven by your brain for survival. We are living in a monstrous photo album where every moment exists eternally. Today, we are going to strip away humanity's biggest hallucination, the true nature of time, the paradox of passing. Why do we feel like time is running? Think about it like this. You're sitting in a dark movie theater. The film is playing. You see characters cry, laugh, and grow old. You'd swear something is flowing right in front of your eyes. But what if you stepped into the projection booth and looked straight at the film reel? Nothing is flowing. The entire movie, from the opening scene to the end credits, is all right there on static frames. They exist all at once. The only thing creating that sense of flow is the projector flipping through those frames at a steady pace. Our universe is exactly like that. Physics calls it the block universe. Imagine reality is a giant loaf of bread. The past is the first slice. The future is the last slice. And your present? And it's just a subjective label you stick on a slice in the middle. Our biggest mistake is believing the past is dead and the future is unborn. The truth is, they are both there. Right now, if you were a five-dimensional being looking at this loaf of bread, you'd see your entire life like a long, distorted worm. One end is a baby crying in a crib, the other is an old man taking his final breath. There is no priority for what we call now. So why do we age? Why don't we remember the future? That's not a law of the universe. That's a hardware limitation. Our brain is a cheap projector, only capable of reading data in one single direction. We are stuck in our own illusion. Time isn't a flow, it's a structure, a static, eternal structure. The second counting experiment. You are a terrible clock. Now, let's do a little experiment. Don't worry, you don't need a particle accelerator or $1 million lab, just you and your brain. The moment I say go, close your eyes and count exactly 10 seconds in your head. No clocks, no looking at the screen. When you think 10 seconds have passed, open your eyes. Ready? Go. How did you do? If you're like most people, you opened your eyes a bit earlier or later than reality. Why? Because your brain doesn't have a precision quartz clock built into it. What you call time is actually just the rhythmic firing of your neurons. When you're having fun, your brain flips through frames at high speed, and suddenly, the afternoon is gone. When you're scared or in danger, it suddenly switches to slow motion, and every tick feels like a century. And the truth is, your second and my second are never exactly the same. We argue about someone being 5 minutes late. We treat those 5 minutes as a physical object, like a ruler that is 5 meters long. But physics says that's a fatal mistake. Time isn't a rigid cage that the universe is locked inside. It's a biological sensation, a type of hallucination that evolution gifted us so we can organize events in order. Without a brain to count the vibrations, the universe wouldn't have a before or an after at all. It would simply exist. So the next time you feel like a day passed too quickly, remember, time isn't running faster. It's just that the projector in your head is working a bit overtime. Electrons, the wayward travelers. Now brace yourself. We are about to step into the world of the infinitesimal, a place where your common sense logic gets twisted until it's laughable. Let's talk about the electron. You know them, those tiny bits orbiting atoms. But there's a secret your high school physics teacher probably forgot to mention. Sometimes, an electron doesn't go into the future. It turns around and runs straight back into the past. Richard Feynman, my idol, pitched an idea so crazy it was pure genius. He said, an antimatter particle, a positron, is actually just a normal electron, traveling backward in time. Imagine a crowd walking down the street. Suddenly, one guy hits a giant mirror and bounces backward. From your perspective, you see two people, one moving forward and one moving backward. But the reality? And it's just one guy changing direction. Feynman went even further. He asked, if a particle can travel back to the past, hit something, and bounce forward into the future again, then what happens? The answer will make your hair stand up. It is possible that the entire universe, including the billions and billions of electrons in your body, is actually just one single electron. One particle. It zags and zigs frantically from the dawn of time to the end of the universe, loops back to the past, shoots forward again, appearing everywhere at once. You think you're a separate entity? Wrong. You might just be a section of a single string threading through the tapestry of time. Does this sound like magic? No, it's math. And in the world of fundamental particles, time isn't a one-way street. It's a playground. And before and after are just obsolete concepts used by oversized creatures like us. The block universe. Why the future has already happened. Prepare yourself for a real shock. If time doesn't flow and particles can travel backward, what does reality actually look like? Welcome to the block universe. Imagine the entirety of reality as a giant loaf of bread. In this loaf, one end is the Big Bang, and the other is the end of the universe. Here's the crazy part. All the slices are already there, right now. The slice where you were a toddler taking your first steps hasn't vanished. The slice where you are old and gray is already there too. You think the future is something that hasn't happened yet? Physics says you're dead wrong. Einstein proved there is no single now that applies to everyone. If I'm standing still and you're moving at the speed of light, my now could be your future. And since we are both equally right, that means your future must already exist for me to observe it, right? The future isn't an unbuilt land. It's just a landscape you haven't walked into yet. It's like a road stretching through the dark of night. Your flashlight, consciousness, only lights up a small patch in front of you, but the entire road has been sitting there since before you even started. What does this mean? It means the concept of this moment is just a subjective label. You're just sticking a Post-it note on the slice of bread you happen to be standing on. But the universe doesn't care. To the universe, every moment is equal. Every joy, every pain, every success or failure you've ever had never disappears into thin air. They are permanently etched into the structure of the cosmic loaf. That you don't pass through time. You are an inseparable part of an eternal crystalline block of reality, debunking the doubts. But I'm still late for work. I know what you're thinking. Hey, Feynman, that sounds great. But if the future is already there, why am I still scrambling to catch the bus? Why can't I go back to yesterday and fix things with my ex-girlfriend? Right. This is where reality slaps theory in the face. In the world of tiny little particles, time can run backward. But you aren't a single electron. You are a monstrous collection of billions upon billions of particles. And when they huddle together, a new rule of the game emerges: chaos, entropy. Imagine you have a deck of cards, perfectly ordered from ace to king. You throw it into the air. What happens? They fall and become a mess. There are billions of ways for that deck to be scrambled, but only exactly one way for it to organize itself back into the original order. In terms of pure physics, those cards could fly back up and rearrange themselves. But the probability of that happening is so small that you could wait from the birth of the universe to the moment it dies 1,000,000,000 times over, and it still wouldn't happen. That's why you see an egg shatter, but never see it heal itself. That's why you grow old instead of young. Time, in reality, is just the name we give to the process of everything getting messier. The universe doesn't forbid you from going backward. It just makes it unimaginably difficult. You're late for work because your boss's clock and your clock are both drifting toward disorder. So, don't blame physics. Blame entropy. We are creatures living in a static loaf of bread and being pushed along by an irreversible flood of confusion. Sergei Ponomarenko, When Fairy Tales Meet Science. I know, we've been talking about loaves of bread and electrons, and it sounds a bit far-fetched. So let's talk about something realer. Have you ever heard of Sergei Ponomarenko? The man who appeared on the streets of Kiev in 2006, wearing an old Soviet military uniform, clutching a camera from the 1950s, and claiming he had just time-traveled from the past. The internet went wild for him. It was the smoking gun, the dream of time travel realized. But let's slow down for a second. The truth? Those future photos Sergei showed off were actually Photoshop jobs, with the Empire State Building clumsily pasted into the Kyiv skyline. And the whole story? It was a Ukrainian sci-fi mockumentary called Aliens that aired in 2012. And we believe in Sergei because we crave a time machine made of iron and steel. We want a physical exit ramp to go back and fix our mistakes. But real science doesn't need Photoshop to blow your mind. The fact that an electron travels backward through time inside your own body is crazier and more thrilling than any urban legend on the web. Science doesn't promise you a DeLorean, but it shows you a reality where the past is never truly gone. Don't be fooled by fake evidence. The truth is already profound enough. You are made of zigzags. Stop. Just for a second. Look down at your hand. You see skin, you see the lines on your palm, you see a single entity called me. But if we take a superpowered microscope and look at the particle level, that me starts to dissolve. You are a collection of trillions upon trillions of electrons. And if Feynman's theory that we talked about in part 3 is right, then there is a crazy truth. A part of you is actually in the past right now. Every time an electron in a carbon atom on your skin interacts, it might be doing a spectacular U-turn. It hurtles backward, meets itself from a second ago, and then bounces back into the future. You aren't a stationary block of matter. You are a tangled web of energy threads weaving through the tapestry of time in every possible direction. But this might sound like airy-fairy philosophy, but it's how the universe operates at its bedrock level. We spend all our time looking for giant time machines in science fiction movies, forgetting that our own bodies are a forum for microscopic time travelers. The only difference between you and an electron is scale. You are too big, too complex, and too messy. Remember entropy from the previous part. Because of that, you can't feel those zigzag jumps. You're trapped in the sensation of a flat, boring timeline ticking away. But don't feel small. Feel extraordinary. You are a collection of chaotic moving particles that somehow create a coherent symphony called life. You don't just live in time. You are the way time manifests itself through matter. You are a piece of that eternal crystal. And every moment you exist, and even the tiniest one, is etched into the structure of reality. It can never be erased. So, what are we left with after all the illusions have been stripped away? Time is not a monster chasing you from behind. It doesn't flow, it doesn't leak, and it certainly doesn't disappear. It stands still, a grand, silent, and eternal structure. You are not just a guest passing through this universe. You're an inseparable part of it. Every smile, every tear, or the very moment you realize this truth right now, All of it has been printed into the crystal of reality. They exist there forever. At those coordinates, within this space-time loaf of bread, a death or separation, from a physics perspective, is merely a change in viewpoint. The past is never truly lost, it just sits on a different slice. If you could stand outside the universe and look at this big picture, what would you want to change? Or would you smile, and knowing that every beautiful moment is eternal? Do not fear time. Enjoy the symphony in which you are a note. Leave a comment below about the slice of time you cherish the most. Goodbye,